We expected maybe 100 people max. That was like our dream number. And to have over 5,000 people enjoy our game is an overwhelming experience, truly.
My name is Elizabeth Flores. I don't have a background in game making at all, but I do like writing in general. So when Kayla was saying, oh, let's all put something together, we all met through art. And so we all love putting things together, working together.
My name is Scout Villarreal. I also don't have a background in game making, but I do have a bachelor's in art, so I do that a lot. And like Elizabeth said, we all met through art, and these are some of my closest friends, and we've done projects together actually before, like other writing and comic and video editing things before, so this was just a natural progression in our friendship.
I'm Dominique. I did a lot of the general sort of tidy up. I didn't really do much of the programming or writing, but I just contributed some small parts, and then at the very end I hammered out some music for the game. But yeah, it's been really amazing to kind of see our progress from pretty much a one-off idea to like a whole year or almost like 2 years of just kind of us chipping away at it month by month. And yeah, it was really sweet to see that it was possible in the end. Like, and the feedback it's gotten and the praise it's gotten online has been really amazing.
Well, everybody contributed one thing that was really big, and that was that we each like designed a boy, and we came up with like like their full stories and everything. Because I'm going to school for computing. My name's Kayla, and I also do some drawing and writing. And so I was like, I think I have enough skills to make like a visual novel type game. And so I thought a dating sim would be fun. But I was like, I've got very specific taste. But my friends who are so creative and talented, I'm like, we all like such different boys. I was like, if we put our work together, we could make a dating sim. And luckily they were all on board, and they stuck with it, for like 2 years.
I'm Sienna. I worked on a lot of art for the game, so Scout and I worked together, and I did like the sketching for it, and then she did the like lining and coloring. And then I did like some cleanup stuff.
Huge part of it was like Kayla had a huge part in like designing the way that we systematically went through every piece of the puzzle, and like Kayla did a really good job, and everybody maintained it really well, but a good job at like creating steps for us to follow, like really easy steps, where we started with, hundreds of drafts of writing. I mean, the Google Docs upon Google Docs upon Google Docs, and in little folders and subfolders of like drafts and archived things that we thought worked but didn't. They rewrote, Elizabeth and Kayla rewrote nearly every date several times until they got it exactly the way they wanted it. So it was just like not being afraid of getting rid of something that we really liked in favor of the bigger picture.
Yeah, I like to stay organized. Yeah, I think when it comes to making things, I definitely just think of things that I want to exist in the world, and I figure out, how to put them there. I'm definitely very driven just by, I would like to see this, I would like it to be made, so I'll make it. We wanted to try like bigger game ideas, but it's like, let's start with this, let's start with something small and simple, and we'll work our way up.
I'm in an animation and games pathway at my college right now. I'm about to graduate. But that is something we talk about, is like scope. And that's something I feel like if someone is looking to make a game or a story narrative like that, that's definitely something you should think about, because realistically, if you on your own or in a team, you've got to think about, okay, what other commitments do they have? Are they in work? Because a couple of us have their own jobs. Kayla and I are in uni. And so finding the time in between to work on your project, and then obviously having that checklist of things really helped. Even if it wasn't a schedule, it was like, all right, we're on this step, we know what to do next.
The hardest thing for us to do was like figuring out where to start, because we all had like a bunch of ideas, but we didn't really know what to do with them, or like, should we start with like the art, should we start with the writing? So when we finally made that timeline, we started to see a lot more progress a lot quicker. The internet is a great resource for like figuring out how to implement your idea.
Yeah, Sienna's so right, especially when it comes to coding. The coding community is so friendly and helpful. Like, you can go anywhere and people are offering like free code tutorials on how to make code like this, just answering questions. I looked up so much stuff online, and just every time. People are so nice when it comes to programming. So don't be scared by like that part, because I know that's kind of scary. Like if you write and you draw, it's like, that's really like a lot of math, like doing the coding, but it's not that bad. It really is easier than you think, and there are people who are happy to help you, people who don't even know you.
I think another thing that kept us motivated is, and the hardest part really is just starting. Whenever Kayla came to us with the idea, I know I at first was like, oh, that would be like kind of fun, but too bad we'll never get to actually do it. And Kayla was like, no, I'm serious. I want to actually do this.
Yeah, because I'm not joking.
She wasn't joking. And obviously, the reason why we were able to do as much as we did is that even on days where we didn't want to work, we would get together as friends. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're all friends, and the easiest part of the experience was just sticking together and chatting and listening to music and having fun and watching movies. And even on days where you're not creatively inspired or want to work, just sitting down and doodling or coming up with prompts that have nothing to do with the game or the characters, but just kind of get your engine going creatively, it made it easier to keep going.
So, working on big projects like video games, it'll be a lot easier to do it with people, either as a team or just as somebody who you contact every night and go, oh, this is what I finished on my game, this is what I finished on my project, and just have somebody who's excited for you when you're creating.
I'll say one thing that was kind of funny, that we thought was funny when we were working on it, was most of us have no dating sim experience. I play a couple, but honestly, I've only played a few. I don't consider myself an expert at all, and they just I've never seen one. But I think it was kind of nice because I think it kept our game very original. We weren't working off oh, we've seen this before, let's do something like it. It was more just okay, if you were gonna make a game, what is it gonna be like?
A lot of it was self-inspired, and because a lot of them came from obviously the characters are based off of book genres, and we all respectively love those genres. Me, I drew from books I really love to read. I read Isaac Asimov paperback science fiction novels, and I just kind of drew from the aesthetics of those. Okay, what does the art style look like? And movie, some wacky sci-fi movies. I thought about the vibes. I thought about just kind of what would this guy be like? Things like that. And I know Scout also had a lot of inspiration from her mystery novels, the historical novels Elizabeth read, and it really shone through in how our artwork looked in the end, and our personal illustrations. They look great, and I feel like it was because we were kind of looking towards specifically those genres, just because the way our game was directed, it just kind of ended up being and kind of pulled in different directions of inspiration, I would say.
I think a lot of us were also inspired by each other. I know that that's kind of a corny answer, but each of us had the design and art that we would do for ourselves, and everyone would kind of draw off of each other's. Someone would someone would do a thumbnail sketch for a CG, and then someone would do it in their own style, and someone would do a recolor of it, or someone would paint it in a different style. And so because we were able to bounce it off of each other, we were able to draw inspiration of oh, I like the way that Sienna drew this, and I like the colors that Dom used in this piece. So not only were we inspired by our genres and each other, but we were also inspired by games that are non-dating simulator. I'm one of the resident gamers. I really enjoy playing video games, and the writing in all of them. I prefer story-driven video games, and so when I'm reading and attacking what I want to see in something like that, it's usually pulling my favorite elements from stuff like that.
Probably the most fun part, at least for me, was doing all those little what would your character do in this situation, and we made playlists for them, what music would they like to listen to, what would their favorite date be, what's their zodiac sign, just having little things to help you get to know your character, and just having fun with it is really, I think, a really important thing, like you said, to keep you motivated and to make sure you're not just kind of oh, I don't want to do this today, but just being well, what would my character do?
Oh my gosh, I loved writing. I loved writing with Kayla, and I loved writing with Scout. Even though Kayla and I were doing the bulk of the writing, Scout was usually there observing on the Google Doc. So it was nice. Always It was always a complete hoot. Anybody who's played our game knows that it's mostly a comedy, more than anything, just based on the fact that we're all silly guys and we just like to write silly things. Obviously, for the game, we didn't keep the most outrageous stuff, but lines that we just say as jokes get written down and they don't get changed, and it gets woven into the rest of the game, and it's super fun. One of the specific examples that I can say is one of our characters, Klaus, Sienna's guy. We always compared him to a horse just because it was funny. But it really does end up playing into kind of the finale of his story and his looks and how he acts. It's really funny in the moment, but it also adds to his character, and that was my favorite part of making the game.
Yeah, there were definitely like a lot of things that were jokes that ended up becoming like serious parts of the characters later on. Yeah, definitely just hanging out with my friends was really fun. That it never felt like work because we were just drawing together, writing together, and, you know, telling jokes and making characters. My favorite part of the process, though, was whenever I would get all of the pieces compiled into my computer and put the code in, being able to see it like all loaded up together, where it's like we have the script up and you can click on it and interact with it, and there's the image, you know, there's the sprite, there's the background. It was so exciting, like just seeing all the pieces coming together every time.
The whole experience was really gratifying, watching it go from a document that we titled Do Your Best, which was the first one that we had ever opened, and it is a complete train wreck, and it does not reflect the final game, to like a full finished thing that we were able to publish on a website. But my other answer would actually be the response that we got from it. The response is not something that we would have ever guessed at all.
I don't even know. I think it just started circulating on Instagram. People were sharing it on their stories, and obviously there's like 5 of us, so we've already kind of we didn't think we'd cast such a huge net, but I guess we underestimated how quickly things can kind of get around. We saw posts on Tumblr, like we got YouTube Let's Plays, which is crazy. And so many comments on Itch.io, so many people saying, I showed this to my friend and they really loved it and they downloaded it. And so many GIFs. Just we let it, we released it as a free to download, pay what you want. And, you know, I don't think any of us were really expecting any amount of money, because we were like, we made this for free. We don't expect to be paid. And we did make money, which is really crazy. So yeah, the response, and honestly, I do love seeing the comments. Kayla would send us batches of them every now and then, and it would just be so like motivating and really uplifting. People are like, this is my comfort game now, like, thank you so much, like, oh my gosh, this is such a sweet game, it was so funny. And like Scout said, seeing your work accepted and praised is really just kind of an incredible feeling.
The game itself, it is a visual novel dating sim. There are 7 endings to it, all original art and music. It's totally free to play, and it is about you go to your aunt's bookshop over the fall, and some boys magically appear out of their books.
Who will you choose? One of the boys who shows up, his name is Morgan McAllister, and he is an ex-pirate captain who has been marooned on an island for some number of years, who can say how long, and he's currently readjusting to a social life. He's a he's a scary looking guy with a heart of gold.
Amos Easterbrook, he's a private eye from a spin-off novel from a series of children's detective novels called the Beatrice Reed series. He's a goofy, fun-loving kind of he's kind of goofy, but like, you know, you can tell he has an intelligent mind under all that Amos. He's kind of fatherly and very kind, and he just likes to have fun, and he wants to make friends.
Dr. Vincent Asimov Nightshade, but we can just call him Dr. Nightshade. He's a very eccentric, pretentious, strange little man from another planet, Planet X, science fiction alternate universe. He was sent to a planet as a punishment for being crazy, but you get to find out if he's really crazy or if he's just like a kind of weird person. I designed him after characters I like who are very intelligent on the outside, but maybe not so much common sense smart. He's a little bit he thinks he's better than others. He's lactose intolerant. I don't know. He is most important part. He's a botanist, a chemist, mad scientist kind of guy. So if you like plants and if you like funny little guys, I think you should go for his route.
I did Klaus, son of Rouse, son of Joust. I don't know what his great-grandpa's name is, but it's in there.
Rothmeyer, the Dragon Slayer.
Thank you. Klaus was inspired by my love for fantasy novels and like the fantasy genre. So he's a knight who's just kind of, traveling around trying to discover himself. Fights a lot of dragons.
Yeah, and then that leaves Rosemount, who is from a fairy tale, and he is very flirtatious, very loving, and energetic little guy. I think one time I described his backstory as embarrassingly tragic and tragically embarrassing, and I'll stick with that description. If you want to, definitely choose everybody, because then you get a special secret ending.